Hi everyone, it's Wendy here from Million Patient Machine. I'm really excited to bring to you today an interview all the way from Vancouver in Canada. I'm going to be introducing my friend, Dr. Alain Desaulniers, who I met at a recent conference and was blown away with his passion for knowing what he stood for and how he practices and the vibe he shares. So I'm going to share that with you today, and I'm really excited. So, Dr. Alain, would you like to share with everyone how you got into chiropractic?
Sure. I love telling this story. I have a bit of a unique story in that I have a family of chiropractors. We have 40, I think we're up to 43 or 44 chiropractors in our family now. Wow. And which is fantastic. And I know there are families out there that have more chiropractors in them. Like I've read recently, I guess maybe about a year ago, I read about a family, there's like 70 some chiropractors in them, which is giant. But that was like over 3 generations or 3 or 4 generations. Well, for us, we're that many chiropractors in 2 generations. It was my uncle Gil, who passed away, I guess 15 years ago now. He was the first chiropractor in our family, my mom's brother. And so chiropractic was really something that I grew up in. And I remember at a young age, I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I remember my mom sitting us down and my dad sitting us down at the dinner table one night, and they said something to the effect of, like, because there's so many chiropractors in our family and because we were so involved with chiropractic, like they brought us to all the seminars they went to, and we always hung out with other chiropractic families and things like that. One of the coolest things, they said around the dinner table, they said, listen, like, we know that this is kind of our life here, but we don't want you to feel pressured like you need to do this or anything like that. So don't ever feel pressured like you need to go into chiropractic just because there's so many of us in our family. They said, however, what we would expect of you and what we want for you is that you spend your life doing something that's bigger than you. And I'll always remember that. I mean, one of my mentors, Dr. Pat Gentempo, always talks about like the pivotal moments in our life, those pivotal experiences that we have. And that was definitely one of them that I remember from that moment, like there. But I remember thinking, like, it really shifted my view. Like, yeah, like starting to think about things that are bigger than me. How can I serve life? And, the more and more that I thought about it, the more and more that I became involved, even in high school, being involved, politically in chiropractic, from, the things that I could do as, like a kid. I just thought, like, there's nothing bigger. Like, I really want to spend my life doing this. And what really brought me into chiropractic was really the tribe, the community of chiropractic, the community of people that were really involved and engaged at doing something great for humanity. And that's really what's kind of brought me in. And I've been in practice now 15 years, and I love it so much. Like, just being involved in the tribe of chiropractic has been just life-changing.
So it sounds like you really got outside of your 4 walls and immersed yourself in the bigger picture. Do you see a huge difference in how you practice to maybe how others do?
Like in my family, you mean, or just in general?
In general, yeah. I mean, what kind of things do you think that make you stand out in your
I mean, I know that we are, the way that I practice and the way that I think a lot of the people that are part of your tribe that, that you engage with, that they practice, I don't know that it's very different from all those other people, but I know it is definitely unique within the healthcare world. And even within the chiropractic world, we're still in the minority, unfortunately, in terms of how we practice. I know that, you'd mentioned before we started recording about some of the stuff in my office, like the aesthetics in our office. And we have a very eclectic look. If you check out our website, and there's a bunch of pictures and stuff like that of our office. And my wife, who's an interior designer, is the one who designed it. But one of the things that we really wanted to show through even the aesthetic of the office was that you would walk in and you would understand a bit about our values and about who we were just by what you saw. So one of the things that's really important for me within chiropractic is that, like, because I grew up in it, and we talk about this, colloquially, we talk about this chiropractic lifestyle. Right. And like how we do things is, we get adjusted, we eat well, all this stuff from the outside. But what I was always super passionate about, what I still am more and more passionate about every day, is how do we take the principles of what we espouse and learn and teach through chiropractic, and how do we apply that in kind of the broad sense of our entire life. And so one of the things that I always loved about chiropractic and about the chiropractic philosophy and about just the philosophy of life was that there's a simplicity in knowing that your brain is what controls all healing and function in your body, that there's a power within us that animates us, that does all of this amazing things, that heals us, that keeps us well. That's a very simple concept. And so one of the things that we wanted to do within the aesthetic of our office even was kind of show that simplicity. So there's, we have a lot of bare walls in our office and it's on purpose. It's very stark and white for the most part. We have these big pieces of art. Like I love street art. It's one of the things that I love. So we have a big street art piece on the wall, and some big, well, right beside me is a big thing that says "Be awesome today." It's right on our wall. But yeah, so there's, I think maybe not that I'm unique in that, because I know there's a lot of really cool offices out there, but that's something that we deliberately did. It's not just we kind of designed an office and we just kind of did things. Like every little thing that we do, from how we greet people to how we things that we look and how I dress in the office is all very deliberate and based on the values that I espouse and what we want to teach. So I think if there's a uniqueness in the way that I do things, it's probably that. And it's not unique to anybody, but it's just because that's who I am.
And I think that's really important, because whatever kind of practice you have or whatever profession you're in, if you're going into those four walls every day, you've got to want to walk in the door yourself before you can expect anyone else to walk in.
Right, exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So if you're going in there and you've really been able to put your mark on it and you've enrolled a team that share those kind of values, because if you don't share your values with the team, I guess your team especially it wouldn't work in that environment.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about, I guess, number one is being, let's say when we come to the office, like we listen to a certain style of music a lot. And it's not only because we like the music, because that's one thing, but we always match what we do with the clients that we want to attract as well. Because it'd be useless for us to, have things look a certain way, us do certain things just because I like it. Because, left to my own devices, there's a lot of different things I would do. But we want to attract a certain type of people in the office. And so everything about all of that teaches those principles, number one, but also attracts those certain people. Like we are not an office that attracts a lot of geriatric clients. Primarily, well, not primarily, but partly because of the way that it looks. It's an open concept office. We listen to a lot of hip hop in the office. We listen to, there's a lot of things about the office that turns those types of people off. And not because they don't need chiropractic care, but we're just not the office for them. And so everything about that is not only for us, but it's really directed at creating an amazing experience for our clients as well.
So that's an interesting concept then, because a lot of people, I guess, would have the mindset that they need to serve everybody in their community, but
right,
you kind of go slightly against that grain, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a slippery slope, right? Because we have this idea in chiropractic, and we have this, this idea that we want to serve the masses, and chiropractic is absolutely for everyone. If you are alive today, you deserve to be checked and adjusted if needed by a chiropractor. Yet, I know that just logistically, there's no way that I could do that. There's no way that our population of chiropractors and chiropractic teams could pull that off, like not even close. So when we look at building a tribe of people, and that's something that I've been really passionate about speaking about over the last decade or so, is that when we look at leading a tribe of people, if we're trying to lead everyone, and this is something like the verbiage that I got from one of my mentors, Seth Godin, fantastic writer, just amazing person to learn from. And he said in one of his books that if you're trying to lead everyone, then you will lead no one in particular. And so it seems counterintuitive that because we have this idea that everybody should be in here, that we're trying to reach everybody. But by reaching everybody, we're actually reaching nobody, because we're actually speaking to nobody. Like I know that a few years ago, I got the opportunity to take care of one of the professional soccer teams, football for you guys over there, the Vancouver Whitecaps. And explaining chiropractic to them. Now, the mechanics of how I adjust an athlete is the same as I would adjust a little baby, in terms of like, there's not like any huge difference, right? There's the same process we kind of go through, right? But how I communicate chiropractic to an athlete is very different than how I communicate chiropractic to a mother. You know, if I'm talking to a mother about getting her child checked right after birth, I'm not necessarily looking at it from the standpoint of peak performance and injury prevention and whatever else, right? They don't give a rat's ass about that. And neither would on the other hand, an athlete would really care about, developing great milestones and all this stuff, the way that we teach to a mother. So, so while the concept is the exact same, our messaging is very different. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is that we try to make our message for everybody. It's so bland that way that we end up reaching nobody. Because like one of the things that say, like when you saw me speak, like one of the things that happened, and one of the things I make sure that I try, is that I'm not trying to speak to everybody in the room, because I know that if I try to appease to everybody, and one of the things that I did during my talk, and I did very deliberately, was that I swore a lot, right? If you remember.
You did swear quite a lot, but you acknowledged that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's going to be a group of people within that room that, because of the words that I used, will automatically turn off my message. And that's okay, because there are some other people who, that because of the way that I spoke, actually attach and engage to my message that much more. And that's really what I want. I mean, I'm not looking to just be like vanilla for everybody, right? I'm trying to reach a target group of people that are just that much more into it. And the more that we can do that, the more that we actually engage the people within our office that way, the more that they become like just warriors of our tribe, that they can really, because they speak our language. They speak the way that I speak, and I speak the way that they speak. So they're being able to do, or to share that message with other people that are just like them, becomes that much easier, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that we teach is obviously scripts and procedures and things for CAs, but then teaching them how to go beyond that and make it bespoke for the office. And I guess that's what you're saying, being able to connect to the person in front of you rather than deliver something rote to just everybody and nothing lands.
Exactly. Yeah. And even in the same way that, let's say, when you developed a script that will cater to a certain individual, right? You're not trying to do something for everybody. You're trying to do something for somebody that's there. And if those people don't, say, like when it comes to stuff like that, we do those things because we know that when someone follows our procedures, when someone kind of steps into our world, and we have a certain way of doing things, we're truly trying to lead them from where they are to this whole other place that is way better than what they're currently experiencing. And we know that if they follow those things, like the way that we do them, they're going to get the best results possible, right? So if you're doing your scripting, and if you're doing the way that you feel is the best, and people are not engaged with that, and they're not, they're falling off from that, then that's okay. They're just not the right people for you. They may be better off somewhere else. And that's not to say that what you're doing is wrong. It's just they're the wrong person for you, right?
And you have presumably a close collaboration with people. I know that everyone's very protective of their little tribe and their little niche, or can be. But it's actually okay to go out and say, look, 2 blocks down, there's another guy that does it this way, and have that mutual friendship.
Yeah, and I think having that level of vulnerability and authenticity is so powerful. Like when I'll go do a talk to say just to the general public, and we talk about some of the things that we do, like I will like outwardly say, if it's people with fibromyalgia, let's say, for example, I am not good at dealing with people who have fibromyalgia. I am not the office to do that, right? And I'm very open about that. And do those people need chiropractic care? Absolutely. But by me saying it, what that's doing is I'm giving myself a personality, like, oh, the guy doesn't think he's just like the best, but that gives me more power. That makes me more trustable because I'm okay with the things that I'm not good at. But that means that I'm also okay with saying the things that we are absolutely brilliant at. And so that way there's that trust and that relational, it means that relational aspect of it that just grows and grows and grows from that. And yeah, so I don't want to be everything to everyone, not at all. I want to be one thing to those people, and that's it.
And that's such a great tip. Know your vulnerabilities, own them, be okay with them. I guess everybody's got vulnerabilities, no matter how or what role they're in, or how good they are, or how long they've been in something. There's always going to be someone that's better at certain things than you are, and that's okay.
And not only is that okay, that's the way it should be. I mean, think about even when we have an experience of going out to eat. I'm hard pressed to find one person in my life that when I ask them what their favorite restaurant is, they'll tell me some sort of generic chain restaurant. No one ever says that. Like, no, I don't know what the chain restaurants are like over there, but like somewhere like over here, like, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't go there.
McDonald's.
But what's that?
Someone like McDonald's or
yeah, okay, something like that. Like they have so much that's available. Like they're trying to cater to everybody, right? But by doing that, they're just kind of okay at everything. They're not just like awesome, right? Like the restaurants that have documentaries made about them, the restaurants that we rave about, the places that we go that we talk to everybody about are very specific. Right? I just watched a few weeks ago. There's a documentary I watch all the time. I've probably watched it 6 or 7 times already. It's called Euro Dreams of Sushi. It is a brilliant, brilliant documentary about this gentleman named Euro, who's a Japanese man who owns a sushi restaurant. He's one of the only, I think the only, I might be wrong on this, Michelin-starred sushi restaurants in the entire world. His little place is like a 13-seat restaurant in the subway station somewhere in Tokyo. And I mean, this guy's I think he's in his 80s now. And he has spent his life like mastering the craft of sushi. And for most people, it's like, who gives a shit about sushi? But for him, it's like that his thing. And he was so much a master of it and constantly learning and constantly growing that he's one of the most sought after restaurants in the entire world. So much so that they made a documentary about him. Right. And he doesn't get that way by just trying to make everything for everybody. He did his thing and he attracted his tribe. So it's like, it sounds counterintuitive, but we really have to, it's like really aiming small to grow big is really the concept.
Yeah. And I guess that constant development comes from that as well. What you were saying earlier about being able to really know what you're after and have that focus. I mean, if his focus is so strong, that's what's led him. It wasn't the doing, the mastery that got him where it was his passion.
Exactly. Yeah. And from that passion, that's the thing. It's finding out who, like, what we're really passionate about and how we can express that passion through what we do. So when it's talking about chiropractic, like what are we so passionate about a chiropractic? For me, what I'm so passionate about chiropractic, what I love teaching about and serving about is the idea that these principles that we teach in chiropractic apply to everything in our life. So how can we live an innately driven lifestyle? How can we apply the principles of your body is an amazing, healing thing to how we eat? How do we apply that to how we think? How do we apply that to, our relationships, all of those different things, because success leaves clues. And if we can start to apply those different things in all of the different areas of our life, then it's an amazing thing. So that's what I'm passionate about. And some people are passionate about other things. I mean, I have some people that I know who just like, they're so passionate about taking care of athletes. They love seeing athletes perform at their best. They love talking about it. They love looking at the stats of someone being able to run like 0.6 seconds faster because someone was adjusted on a regular basis. Like to them, it's like, oh, like that's the best. I don't care about that. Like that bores me, right? But that's okay. I mean, I'm not that guy.
And the athletes that they're talking to are going to be in the tribe that want to have 0.06 of a second.
Exactly.
Their training times. That it's win-win.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. That's a great tip. Really narrowing it down to be able to play it big. So you mentioned that chiropractic was kind of handed down to you. How was it that you discovered your niche?
Well, I think that took some time because I definitely went into practice thinking that, number one, I thought I was going to open my doors and the floodgates would open and millions of people would just come into my office. And I opened a practice in a small town in the mountains here in the Rocky Mountains here in Canada that I knew nobody. And like literally knew nobody. I knew one person, but like from the town over, and that was it. And I realized quite quickly that the tribe that I had built around me before, because of the fact that while I believe in some ways I have a huge advantage in that I grew up in chiropractic, but in the other sense, I found out like by doing it was that I was a huge disadvantage because I had never known anything different. Everybody around me was in this chiropractic bubble with me. And so to me, it was like, well, it just made so much sense. Of course you get adjusted. Of course I'm going to open my doors and everyone's just going to show up because my sign's outside. But that's not at all what happened. I mean, 6 months into practice, I was suicidal. I was failing in every sense of the word. Like I was failing at life. My mindset was terrible. I was depressed. All of that. I was broke. I was going bankrupt. It was not a good sign. But it took kind of realizing that, like, oh yeah, like I'm not for everybody. I have this big idea, but I'm not like this be all end all for everybody. And so developing, I guess who I was, number one, and what I love to do, and then developing like a practice and a style and procedures around that to nurture that, to help bring out the best of who I was, as opposed to just looking out at someone else and saying, oh, well, I want what he has, so let me do it just like him. Because that that got me so far, because I did that for a while too. I said, I want what this guy has. I want to be like him. I want to be like her. And so I'm like, I'm just going to do what they say. I talked like them. I acted like them. I did all of those things. And that got me to a certain level. But it always got me to a point of, one, I got super bored with it, or I got super burnt out. And I realized over the years that it was because of the fact that I was not being authentically me. That there was a part of what they were doing, the principle, again, like I came back to why I got into chiropractic in the first place. How do I take the principles of success in life and success in the human body and apply those to certain areas? And I saw that I was doing like an outside in type of thing. I was trying to act like someone else as opposed to finding my own genius and doing that. So, I mean, there was definitely a process, and it's an ever evolving process too. But starting from that standpoint of knowing who we are, like listening to the voice within. And that's sometimes, I think oftentimes, is the hardest thing that we can do, is just shut the world out and shut everybody up that is trying to talk into us, and listen to what we really want. I think it's such a cliche question, but it's the most powerful question. Like, what do you want?
It's such an overwhelming question for a lot of people, isn't it? Because you have so many constraints placed on you all the time. How do you know what you want as opposed to what your parents wanted, or your friends want, or your husband wants? Or
yeah. And then we look out on Facebook and we see the highlight reels of everybody, and we're like, oh my gosh, like they've got all their shit together and I'm like terrible. And we go down this rabbit hole of, it just creates despair. And most of us at this point, and I was the same way, is that we can most often identify what we don't want way more than what we do want. Mm-hmm. But I think that's okay. It's a starting point, because then if you can reverse engineer it, right? If we know what you don't want, well, the opposite might be what you do want, right? But just even asking that question is just, for some people, that's the revolution right there. Is asking the question, what do I want? What do I want in my business? What do I want in my health? What do I want in my fitness? What do I want in my marriage? All of those things. I mean, it's a groundbreaking thing when we start to apply it, because it's not just asking the question, because then you'll get an answer at some point. And once the answer comes, then what do you do about it? Right? That's the tactics. That's the strategies. What do we do about that answer? Because most people will get that answer, and over the years, we'll beat it out of ourselves because of the limitations that we feel, the how we feel about ourselves, and the resources that we don't have, or the way that this person hurt us, or whatever it is. But just really starting to ask that question, number one, is, like I said, that's the revolution right there.
And how do you keep your answer fresh in your mind then, when those daily kind of things hit you? How do you keep that fresh?
Well, I remember one of the funnier things that happened when I was with you guys for the UCA. I was the first speaker of the day, right? So I was the first speaker and I was the last speaker, and it worked out perfectly because it was essentially how my talk, or what my talk, was all about. But I remember my first slide was up on the screen, up on the big screen, before I went on, and so there's a few people on there on the stage before me who were introducing me, not only just introducing me, but introducing the day, going over logistics, going over any of the stuff for the organization. And up on the screen comes my screensaver, which just is 4 words. And it's like, on Windows, the screensaver kind of, all the words kind of come up and they kind of revolve around. And it said, if I could be blunt here, it said, do the fucking work. is what it said. You can bleep that out if you need to. So, but that came up on the screen, and I was super embarrassed at the moment. It turned out it was perfect because that is exactly what my talk was about. But because the feeling that I used to have when I would see people up on stage was that, man, like they've got all this stuff together, like they must just wake up every morning, you know, everyone that's on stage and everyone who's killing it in life, they all wake up at 4 a.m. and they can't wait to get up, and like everything's amazing, and you know, like their whole life is that like everything is awesome song, right? That Tegan and Sarah song. Mm-hmm. Everything is awesome all the time. And I came to realize that was not the case at all. That many times that those people, most of the time, getting up at whatever hour in the morning, it sucks. Like it's not fun. So staying inspired all the time, I think, is a falsehood. That is never going to be a reality. We are going to feel pain. We are going to feel struggle. We are going to feel suffering. However, what gets me through it is the idea that regardless of how I feel, that I continue to do the work. You know, getting up at like I'm up at 4 to 5 in the morning now every day, and especially with a 10-month-old at home, is not easy. And I've been doing it for 4 months now consistently, and it has not gotten any easier most days. However, I know that once I do get up and once I do the work, I'm more likely to be inspired. I'm more likely to be in that state than if I was just to sit in bed and just live my life based on how I feel. Way more than how I feel is my vision for my life, and I'm committed more than I'm inspired, I would say. And so when you do that, when you're in that space, when you're committed to doing the work, then inspiration becomes a side benefit of that, because you're creating the space to be able to do that. Most of us, and I'm there a lot of times too, is like we just trying to go from day to day to day to day to try meeting to this, to that, and trying to just get through the day. But the more that we can just spend that time, ask that question, just making the space to ask that question, what do I want? I mean, when I think about what I want, what I ultimately want, man, that inspires me a lot. But I feel sometimes that it's unattainable. I'm not this, I'm not enough, I'm whatever it is that comes up. But more than being inspired, I'm committed. And that doesn't look like I'm like perfect every day. Many times, I mean, I woke up this morning, I hit snooze 3 times. I finally did get up, 25 minutes later, but I did. It was way earlier had I, if I would have, well, it's way earlier than I would have had I just like, I'm going to sleep in, I'll sleep till I'm ready, which had been much, much later. Yeah. So just being committed to it, to an ideal that's bigger, and then having something that is like a big why. I mean, it sounds again cliche because everyone in this circle, we've kind of gone through a lot of this, and it has become a little bit more cliche. Like your why, you have to think about your big why. But that's really the case. And I know when I had my daughter 10 months ago, like life changed. Life changed. There was a level of accountability that I had all of a sudden. Like I have to care for another human life. Like holy crow, it made it pretty intense. And so whatever it is for us, I mean, anchor to something that's just bigger. Like my parents always said, something that's bigger than you. And once you can anchor to something bigger than you, that will get through the days where you feel like crap. That will get you through the days where nothing got done, because tomorrow it's another day. Get going, get after it, do the fucking work.
I love it. And I think that's such a great tip. Like, it's knowing the why is really, really important, but then sitting there thinking about it isn't gonna get you to deliver it. And if your why is actually to serve somebody or to do something bigger than yourself, then you've got to take those actions to make that happen. And
yeah,
great.
Yeah, and for some people, it's like, and people that I've coached along the way, it's like, people are like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to do. Well, one thing to do to help break us out of that is just go serve someone. Just go help someone. I don't care who it is. But by doing that, and just notice what happens. Be aware of how you're interacting. Be aware of who that person is. What is it that jazzes you up about it? And what is it that you don't like about it? Because that will start to steer the conversation in your head a little bit more. Like if you go, I go out and help someone. I helped a little baby. Well, great. But I don't like taking care of babies. Okay, well, that's one thing. Like whatever it is. Like I'm granted, I love taking care of babies, but whatever it is for us, whatever it is for me, whatever it is for you, that will start to dictate it. So it's actually action before feeling, right? It's a weird thing because we've been taught so much about like, it's this be, do, have mentality. I have to actually have the feeling before I do anything else. But I think it's backwards in the sense that if we're just feeling the thing, well, that's not changing anything. I mean, I'm here on this earth to move the needle. I want to make a change. I want to create impact. And I create impact. Creation is actually doing something. It's creating something out of nothing. It's not just nothing, right? And so that creation part is actually the doing. I think that's the missing step for so many people, is just the actual doing. Do something. Go help someone. And that'll get you going.
That's such a lovely way to kind of, I don't say end, but go help, go serve. It's such a great mission to leave us all with. Whoever you want to serve, whoever you want to help, however you want to do it. It's just
exactly
make a difference.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We need help, and people need support in so many different ways than just putting your hands on them and adjusting them, or helping someone at a front desk and helping them lead the journey into health. I mean, even the going to the grocery store and smiling at the cashier, even, someone cutting you off in traffic and you not flipping them the bird and not like sending them death and stuff like that, right? Just something like that is making the world a better place. And those things compound. The more that we do that, the more that we get in the headspace of that I'm here to serve and I'm here to figure out what I want, the better life is, right? Because then you realize another thing, and is that everybody's doing it. Everybody's having the struggles. Everybody's confused. Everybody's trying to like figure it all out. None of us have figured everything out. So like it creates I think it creates a lot of empathy to, as a superpower for a lot of people, to just have empathy for people. And from that empathetic place, we just want to help. How can I serve you? How can I help you?
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't mean anything other than what that person needs and what we're willing to provide.
Well, you say one day we're all going to need that support and help from somebody, or that kind smile or that gesture when things go wrong, that, somebody cares, and somebody's got to give that, which means we've got to be the person giving it as well. That makes.
Yeah. I mean, how many stories have we heard over the years that, people who are about to commit suicide, that they saw somebody and that person smiled their way, and just that smile made them change. Like just a smile can save someone's life. I mean, that's it.
I remember one of my most powerful stories when I was working as a CA. I got an email from Canada, actually. Ironically, it comes to mind when I'm chatting to you, from a niece of one of our patients who I would hug when she came into the center. And it was just something that I did. She was a sweet little old lady, and I'd give her a big hug and we'd send her on her way. And she told her niece who'd emigrated, and it was the one thing that they used to share, that she was really worried that nobody was hugging her. Her was like a grandma to her. Mm-hmm. And she tracked down the center and sent this beautiful email about, what a difference it made to her in Canada, knowing that someone was hugging her.
That's beautiful.
And
that's beautiful.
You never know the impact that you can have on someone.
Yeah, and that's, I think, also speaks so loudly about the importance of the team in an office. In that, like, a lot of times chiropractors will think like, well, they're the big show. Really, like, I'm one of the cogs in the wheel here. I'm one of the pieces of the mechanics. My team that's in the office, the people that are at the front desk, the people that are taking care of everything, they're so integral and probably way more important to the whole process, because they're seeing everyone twice. They're also, they just have a whole other connection level to those people that I won't have, because I'm either the professional or I'm, whatever it is, I'm there for a specific reason. But, just that, like giving a hug, like that's so beautiful, and that's so powerful.
Yeah, it's great when you get that harmony as a team. It's really such an amazing experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, if anybody would like to hear more from you, Dr. Alain, how can they get in touch with you?
Probably the easiest way is just on Facebook. Just hit me up on Facebook. Just look at the spelling of my name.
Yeah, we did check that over before we did the interview. Yeah, I hope I managed to get that correct.
Yeah, so hit me up on Facebook. I also have a podcast that I put out called Everyday Revolutions. Feel free to listen to that. And I know I'm just trying to be just do all the stuff that I love. Like I love doing videos like this. I love, I love doing my podcasts. I just love talking to people and building community and building tribes. So any opportunity that I get, I mean, I just love it. So hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter, on, through the podcast, whatever. And I'm happy to serve anybody.
I will definitely be checking those out. That's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us today. I've got so many great things and so many great tips from that. So find out who you want to serve, find out what you really want to do and what your big why is, and then take the action steps to go and make it happen. I think would be the key things that I'm going to take from this interview. And I hope
awesome.
Everybody's got lots from it as well. So thank you so much for joining us again. And
my pleasure.
Good night.
Be awesome, everybody.
Thank you.